Well, hello and welcome. My name is Velma. You can connect with me at velmanolds.com. This is all about your leadership chat. What does that mean? You get to listen in on valuable insights from valuable leaders just like you. I want to encourage you to go ahead and subscribe so that you never miss another episode. And if this is of value to you, please share the nuggets that you're going to take away from all these great leaders. Hey, please give a big welcome to my special guest and your valuable leader, Alan Rosen. Alan, welcome to your leadership chat.
Thank you, Velma. It's nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited to have you and to have you share with the listeners. So this is going to be a fun time. To kick things off, I would love for you to share a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay, sure. So I have got an undergraduate in psychology, and that may not be relevant at the beginning of the story, but it will come around at
Oh,
the
it's
end.
relevant.
And then I ended up going into getting a master's in public administration and going into local government management. And I've done that for about 20 years.
Wow.
Worked in Florida, Georgia, New York, Nevada, California, and also done consulting all over the United States. I've been a budget manager and a city manager and a county manager. And I had a job as a county manager. It was kind of the pinnacle of my career. And, they say timing is everything,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And, had an unfortunate situation where I had two family members close to me that were both diagnosed with cancer within 10 days of each other.
Wow.
And so I was new in this position and had to tell the elected officials that there was no way that I could maintain this position and take care of my family at the same time. Luckily, they were very magnanimous about it, and I left. But in this kind of profession, you kind of have to move around to get that
Mhm.
next job
Sure.
because you need to live where you work.
Right.
And but my family was at that age where they didn't want to move anymore.
Right.
So I put out a shingle and started doing consulting, mainly around like leadership development, strategic planning, process improvement, all of the fun things that I've had been able to do over the last 20 years.
Right.
And also, during that time, if anybody's ever had that situation in their life where they've been in a profession for a long time and they've had the chance to slow down and reflect, I kind of thought about, well, what do I really care about and what is really interesting to me?
Yeah.
And decided that I was going to go back and get my doctorate in psychology. So now we come back full circle
Yes, yes.
and study leadership and emotional intelligence because out of the 20 years working as an executive in different organizations, two of the biggest things that I saw missing were emotional intelligence and basic management techniques that
Hmm.
you probably know. It's like, some of these things really aren't taught in undergrad or graduate
Right.
school. You have to have a
Right.
good boss. And sometimes you don't have a great boss. You just know, you learn what not to do,
Right.
right?
Right.
But you don't learn what to do unless you really do a lot of reading and research and study. And so this was something that really spoke to me and I really wanted to learn more about. And also during this time frame, I've gotten certified in three areas of emotional intelligence and traditional Chinese medicine. The EQI 2.0, which is more of a Western model of emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Lead Labs, which is something that my university does, which is evidence-based leadership development and training. We do a lot of research, and then we take that research and we implement it into practice in terms of coaching and leadership development. And then in terms of traditional Chinese medicine, the five archetypes, which I kind of describe as the traditional Chinese medicine version of emotional intelligence and personality kind of all rolled into one.
Right.
Even though it's not really that, it's the easiest way to describe it.
Sure.
So that's kind of a little bit about me and what I've been doing.
And where are you located now? Where are you? Because you moved around a lot, so you said that.
Yeah, yeah, I'm in Central Florida, the most magical place on earth.
Exactly. Happiest place on earth, right?
Yeah,
Right there with Mickey Mouse.
yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Well, that's great, and I love the fact that you have studied psychology. That's in your heart, and you are using that knowledge and that skill set and experience to expand deeper in research as it relates to leadership development, which is very close to my heart. Emotional intelligence, strategic planning. So we are kindred spirits. You and I met at a conference. We were both speakers and it just kind of hit it off. And I'm so blessed to be able to stay connected to you and learn from you.
Yeah, I feel the same way. And, I really enjoyed getting to know you and speaking with you over the last year or so, just kind of reconnecting every now and
Yeah.
then.
Yeah, so I'm thrilled to have you here. Well, let me kick us off on the question of I always talk about valuable leaders in their and in the lives of others. And to me, a valuable leader can play twofold. A valuable leader, hopefully, is that person that made such a great impression and impact on your life that you would say, Alan is not the man he is today if it was not for this particular person in my life. And sometimes people want to squeeze in more than one person, so more than one valuable leader, and we have a little leeway. And then sometimes someone will throw a curveball and say, you know what, this person was a valuable leader in my life, and it's because they taught me what I don't want to do. Like you said, I never really got trained in how to be a great leader, a valuable leader, but I know I don't want to be like that leader because they have leadership in title only and not in the way that they are behave and interact. So for us here on the show, I love to find out from guests and from you, who would you say is a valuable leader in your life, Alan, and why would you say that about them?
So it's a great question, and I think it's a very personal question, and it depends on, you as a person, and how somebody interacts with you that really fulfills you in a way that you may not be able to get yourself. So I'll kind of take it back a little bit to the five archetypes. Every archetype has another archetype that kind of feeds them energy and makes
Mhm.
them feel just relaxed and safe and able to make decisions or take pathways in their life that they never would have seen possible.
Right.
And so that person and their qualities for me may be completely different for everybody else. But it may make them feel that same way. It's just they do it a different way than somebody else might for you. So there's a person named Kevin Knutson who, you know, it's interesting. So we worked in various places in the United States together and never met each other.
Wow.
So I started my career in Broward County, which is the Fort Lauderdale area, and he was working for a city there in Coral Springs. And we never met each other, but we lived in the same place. He ended up moving to the city of Reno, Nevada he worked in multiple positions in Reno. I moved to Atlanta to work in a position there, and then I moved to Washoe County, which is where Reno is.
Okay.
He was there at the same time I was in Washoe County. We never met each other. He went to go work for a consulting firm that no longer exists. And then a couple of months later, I went to work for that same consulting firm, but I worked on the West Coast and he worked on the East Coast.
Wow.
And then we finally met doing a project together.
Yeah.
And he was like, you've heard that term brother from another mother,
Yeah. Yeah,
you
I
know,
do.
just kind of he was such a calming influence. And so this is
Mm.
my personal story with him. For me, he was such a calming influence
Yeah.
for me to be able to just explore and not be as stressed about things that were going on.
Hmm.
He could walk into a room and just his demeanor kind of brought down the stress level in the room,
Oh,
right? If
wow.
there was a
Hmm.
situation we were dealing with that was stressful, he was my supervisor and he had a way of like not make if it did get to him, I didn't feel it,
Mm.
right? So that always helps in a situation, right? Because I've been in situations, and I'm sure you and your people that are watching this have been in situations before where there's a stressful situation
Sure.
and the supervisor is human too. They're going to get stressed out as well. And
Right.
it just comes out and it's this negative energy and you're in a room and everybody's just kind of sweating and anxious and you know, he just was not that for me, right? He was the exact opposite, that calming influence that allowed us to make good decisions and really think about things critically without feeling like we were pressured to do
Right.
so.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I wrote down calming influence, and I even put next to it stress down because usually, it's like it's just he just kept the stress down. It did not get a chance to even bubble up because of the fact that it just brought that sense of calmness in the middle of a chaos, if you
Mhm.
will. You hit on the five architects, so I've got to take you right back there. So you have to tell us, the five, and I know it's not in the script, but you know this like the back of your hand. So you have to tell us the five because this is something you're very, very passionate about. And which one are you, and which one is Kevin? I just got to know. So I'm sure if I want to know, others do too.
So the five archetypes are wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. And they each kind of have, so if you take an assessment and you figure out what you are, you're all of them. Everybody is all of them. You just have more inclination of one towards the other. And the one that is your highest generally stays your highest throughout your lifetime, unless you're really in turmoil and your, intrinsic needs change for a little bit. I am wood, and wood is all about forward movement and moving fast and big picture. We have the ability to kind of sit back and see the big picture and see the future. We like adventure and challenge and change. We don't like being restricted. We don't like being told what to do. A lot of times you'll find wood people are entrepreneurs.
Yeah, yeah,
They like that challenge and being their own boss. Um, and so it's funny because he was in a session of mine once, and I saw him in the water group, which is
right.
the energy right before me.
Okay.
And I was like, that makes a lot of sense because water is very calming and independent, but slower. And let's think about it. Let's get to the deep meaning and what does this really mean? And just that slowness of water and nature. And that to me is that very calming influence. And my daughter is also water.
Mm,
And it's unbelievable. She doesn't have to do anything. She can just walk in the room
right.
and I'm immediately more calm than I was before. She doesn't have to do anything. It's literally just her nature.
Right.
Um, the problem for me is that my water score is very low. So
Mm.
it's very hard for me to slow down, right? That's the energy of slowing down.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is later on, he just assumed he didn't take the assessment. He just put himself in the water group because there weren't a lot of people there and he felt bad for them. He took
Oh, okay.
he took the assessment later and he was actually wood,
Right.
but his water score was much higher than mine. And so he has the ability to draw on that power that I don't have. And
Yeah.
that's what helped me calm down. So the other three are
Yeah.
fire.
Hmm.
Fire is exuberance, excitement. They're your cheerleaders. They are passionate and radiant. They love to be the life of the party. Interestingly, they love eye contact.
Right.
So if you're next to a fire person, they generally don't have as much personal space needs, and
Right.
they're your instant best friend. They're the people that you meet that will tell you all about their life in an instant.
Right.
They don't have a lot of boundaries, right? They're very open. You've got your earth people who are your nurturers, your gatherers. They have the easiest time being empathetic. They can really understand other people and what they need and
Mm-hmm.
provide that for them, sometimes to the detriment of themselves, right? Because
Yeah. Yeah.
they so want to serve everybody else. They will give so much of themselves that they end up getting stressed out because they want to make sure everybody else is taken care of.
Right.
And then you have your metal.
Metal. Yeah.
Metal Metal power is very precise, direct, data driven, loves ceremony and procedure, and wants to make sure everything is perfect. So, of course, as we know as humans, not everything is perfect.
Right.
So sometimes they can be prone to that disappointment of like, it's not perfect. I want it to be perfect, and we can't
Right.
move forward until all of the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted. And it's interesting to me as I speak to people, some people will say, wouldn't it be great if everybody in the organization was wood? And I'm like, no, it
Oh,
wouldn't.
right.
Because here's what happened. If you've ever seen the movie Wolf of Wall Street, and
Uh-huh.
for those viewers who have not seen it, go take a look at it. It's with Leonardo DiCaprio, and it's a bunch of these machismo guys who just want to win at all costs, break the rules. It doesn't matter. That's what happens when you get a bunch of wood people
Would.
in a room. They all go to jail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you need that, like just like
Now.
anything else in life, you need that balance, right?
Yeah.
That balance is what helps us make good decisions, be
Right.
more well-rounded in ourselves and with our team.
Oh, I love that. And thank you so much for giving us a little sprinkle on each one. I had the opportunity to see your presentation so and participate in there. So it was a lot of fun and you did an excellent job without notes. So you know this stuff. That's awesome. Okay. So we know that Kevin is a valuable leader in your life, really helped you to have that balance basically, and to give you the space to explore ideas and to grow. And it's interesting how you were on a different path, but your paths, kind of came together when you actually did meet in person, and he's made such an impression on you. And so my next question is, now that you know what it is to be a valuable leader, to have someone like that in your life, how would Alan say, hey, this is how I pay that forward, Velma? This is how I impact the lives of others so that they could see the valuable leader in themselves? How would you say you do that?
It's hard for me to do because the answer to that is actually in water, which
Mm.
is questioning and slowing down and getting to the deep root cause of things. But it's also, if you study any coaching, any executive coaching, a lot of it will tell you, you kind of have to come out of yourself
Yeah.
and you have to just focus on that other person and ask them what it is that inspires them. What are they interested in? What do they want to do with their lives? And really dig deep into them without projecting any of you onto them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about calming yourself to be able to go there. It's, there's a difference between being a consultant
Yeah.
and being a coach, right? Consultant, you come in to say, hey, these are the best practices. This is what you should probably focus on. You're telling them what they should probably do.
Right.
In coaching, you shouldn't tell them what they should do. You try to get them to understand what's
Mm.
most important to them and bring it out of them.
Right.
So I'll give an example of, some people say, like, what are you the most proud of in your career? Not like home life, because a lot of people say, my children. So outside of that, right?
Right. Right.
Um, Getting the opportunity to watch other people grow and flourish and to know that you were a part of that
Yeah.
is the most satisfying thing that I have ever done. So there's
Mm.
somebody else that I look up to who I had an opportunity to help grow
Right.
into her profession. And I am on a daily basis just awed and dumbfounded by what she's been able to achieve and what she does. And I would work for her in an instant if I could.
Right.
Um, when I started as the assistant city manager in Port Orange, there was somebody who was, I think she was an HR analyst, and
Sure.
she had her master's, I think in IO psychology or HR,
Yeah.
and she was helping me with union negotiations.
Okay.
And she was brilliant. And I sat her down and I said, what do you want to do with your career? And she said,
Yeah.
well, HR or something. That's what I went to school for. I said, you're brilliant, you're smart, you're analytical, but you also know how to talk to people. You're really good at customer service. That's all it takes to be a really good city manager, assistant city manager, knowing the questions to ask
Yeah.
and just being good with people.
Right.
And she said, well, I never really thought about it. And I said, well, if an opportunity ever opens up to be a budget analyst, try that because that will open you up to every aspect of a local government because you have to
Sure.
deal with every part of it.
Right.
And lucky enough, a couple of months later, a position opened up and the finance director she was on the same wavelength, right? So she snagged her, right? And without me even talking to her about it, and she took that job and she did great with it. And then a couple of months later, the HR director resigned.
Right.
And so I went to the city manager and I said, you should really think about hiring Jamie as the assistant, as the interim HR director. Give her a shot, see what she's done, all aspects of it. And she's got this side too. Maybe she'll be really good. He's like,
Right.
no, 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 I'm not going to do that. I'm like, well, just think about it. And, a couple of months later, he made the announcement that he hired Jamie as the interim HR director.
Wow.
And she was doing wonderfully. She was just intrinsically a great leader, was able to really rally the troops and get the team together and get them working well. And so I went to the city manager and I said, so when are you going to make her permanent already? No, 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 we're not going to do that. And then, of course, like a month later, he announced that she was now the permanent HR director. And she ended up being, when I left as the interim city manager and got the
Mhm.
job as the county manager. And then the council hired her as the interim city manager.
Yeah.
And they ended up hiring another city manager, but now she took another job as a city manager in Kentucky, and she's been there 3 years already, I think,
Wow.
and doing wonderfully. And it fills my heart with joy knowing that I had just some small
Yes.
piece in trying to really open her up to the possibilities of what she could do,
Yes.
and that she took that opportunity and ran with it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And I totally can relate because to have someone to have them have that aha, moment and really do see their potential and then lean into that and know that it maybe was an encouraging word or speaking up for them or just standing by them and letting them borrow your belief in their own abilities. That's so satisfying. I always like to say that the first part of your career and life as you go through this, it's a big focus. I think majority of us, everyone, most people focus in on success. Got to be successful, however they define success. And then as you get this experience and wisdom, and you start to figure out really what you're good at and you start to learn and grow and develop and you see how other people have impacted you, other valuable leaders, then you start to realize that your focus shifts. I hope it shifts for everyone listening here, but it from this success of me to this significance of others. And that's when you've really stepped into that servant leadership, and into being that valuable leader that you want to make a significant impact in others' lives. And that's what you've done here with Jamie. And I know there's others, but what a great example of how to pay it forward, even though you maybe didn't plan it that way,
Yeah.
to answer that question.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. That's great. Thank you so much. All right. Well, folks listening in love this question. They love to know what's the big takeaway for me, because I want to be a valuable leader. I want to be better than I was yesterday. And we all want to strive to lean in and live and maximize our potential. So, what would be one big takeaway and that Alan would give to the listeners? They're hearing you, some of them for the very first time. What would you say to them that could help them become more of a valuable leader in their own lives, personally and professionally?
So the biggest thing when you read research, and kind of no matter where you come at this from, is self-awareness and social awareness.
Mm,
The problem with the society that we live in now, it's I want everything right now. Before I even know I want it at my doorstep. Order it from Amazon, it'll be here later today. It's now, 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 quick, quick, quick.
right.
The problem is that we don't give ourselves time to really understand ourselves, our stress, what we're going through.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest thing that I like to tell people is, and I see this again in all the research and everything that you read about emotional intelligence, is give yourself the opportunity to slow down. It
Mm,
is so hard, especially for people like me who are wood people who don't want to slow down. It is
right.
literally painful,
Right.
physically and emotionally, to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody has that problem,
Right.
but it is critical in every aspect of coaching and
Yeah.
learning to know yourself. And when you think about it in terms of, it's not just like this is some idea out there, okay, Alan tells me to slow down, blah, 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 but it's actually a biomechanical thing that's in our brains. As our brains developed over millions of years, we first, as humans, the biggest threat we had was running away from predators, fight
Right.
or flight. And that was, our brain was much more developed down here than it was up here. So we didn't have to deal with like, well, how's Susie going to react if I say this? It's
Right.
how am I going to live if I can't outrun this dinosaur?
Right. Right.
So um, the connections in our brain developed so that we have to experience things emotionally before we experience them rationally. That
Mm,
is how our brains are wired.
mm,
And when I say slow down, I'm literally talking about fractions of a second. So change that running away from a dinosaur to being in an office setting where somebody says something to you that really upsets you, and you've had a hard day already. And you could go one of two ways. You could blow your top, or you could calm down for a second and maybe think of a better way to react that won't have negative consequences for both you and that other person.
mm-hmm.
You are giving your brain a chance, this prefrontal cortex at the beginning, to catch up with your emotional center.
Right.
You react in a different way.
Yeah.
That's literally all emotional intelligence is giving yourself the opportunity to slow down, to think about it, to understand yourself, and to react in a better way. So that's the big takeaway that I would give everybody, is find a way that you feel like you don't have to react right away,
Mm-hmm.
and give yourself time to reflect, even if it's for a fraction of a second, on
Yeah.
what your reaction should be and the outcome of that reaction.
Yeah, no, I love that. And what a great way to be able to tell that full story of the fight versus flight, which as we developed in, and grow and develop and our brain did, we were like, it's an emotional response first versus as we get older and learn about emotional intelligence and slow down and then have a chance to just decide. So using that, logic first. Let me decide how I'm going to respond, and don't use the emotions first to just react. Fly off the handle kind of a thing, and fractions of a second.
Yeah.
So. Thank you for qualifying that, because sometimes when we say, well, folks need to, let's just slow down and you need to slow down, kind of just pause, people aren't, most people aren't comfortable with pause,
No.
silence. I'm guilty, been there. I'm like, no, time is money kind of a thing. But it fractions of a second. That's a very good big takeaway. Just think of it as such a small incremental step that has such a big, long lasting impact. So,
Right.
what,
Yeah. And then also for yourself, like being self-aware, right? So the more you're able to sit down and reflect on what makes you stressed out,
yeah.
some of us don't even know, and we don't even know we're stressed out till we blow our top, right?
Mm,
And so if you are able to slow down and focus on what really upsets you, you can catch that at the root cause and cut it off at the bud, right? So that you don't get to that point in the day where you just react because you're so stressed out, because you realize at the beginning of the day, oh, I didn't have my breakfast, or, oh, this person's saying something to me that always gets to me. I
yeah.
need to make sure and calm down now, because if it just keeps happening, I'm going to get upset later.
Yeah.
So
That's so true.
yeah.
I mean, if I don't have what I call my quiet time in the morning, so I'm up, I'm an early bird, it could
Mhm.
be 4:30, 5 o'clock, 5:30. I'm up, and I'm up in the sense that I'm awake out of bed and I'm in my recliner. That's about as up as I am. But I'm in the recliner and I've got my coffee, and it's my quiet time to meditate and to, just kind of just calm and level set. But I know that when I've like recently, I've had family here from the holidays, and we had to get up really early, and then we had to get on the road because we had to drive over your side of the world on the, East Coast, and I'm on the West Coast of Florida. And so I'm like, I did not have my I didn't go to my happy place. I didn't have my, time, like you say, you just need that time to self-check
Mhm.
and then set the day. It's so important.
Yeah.
So what a great takeaway. Thank you for that. Being more self-aware. What do you need at the to help you realize what stresses you out? Because it stressed me out, and
Yeah.
normally I wouldn't be stressed out to do a long drive or anything. I just didn't have that moment of time that I needed.
Right. And
Yeah.
everybody needs to realize that the things that stress them out are different for everybody.
Yeah.
So slowing down would actually stress me out.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Even
know.
though even though I know it's good for me, it would stress me out. And for fire people, they need to, do something that's fun or eat a good meal. A lot of times when I talk to people, this gets me because it's not me at all, right? But earth people, a lot
Right.
of times when they get stressed out, they go and organize something.
Yeah.
That I don't want to organize anything. That would
No.
have to, that for me, that's work.
Right. Right.
So everybody needs to understand what it is that, and they can also focus on, oh yeah, now I realize when I get stressed out, I do that. Great. That's an activity that you can do that's specific to you
Mm-hmm.
to de-stress you, where it wouldn't, stress out everybody, or it
Oh,
wouldn't help everybody.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Well, I want to wrap us up and ask you to share with listeners how can they learn more about Alan, find you, and follow you, and just stay connected to the things that you're sharing out here with us. So, where's the best place to learn more about you and what you do?
So plenty of ways to connect on LinkedIn. My company is called Local Government Solutions.
Right.
And the website is Local Gov Solutions LLC, because
Okay.
all of the good websites were taken, right? And they could also reach out to me, via my email, which is just Alan, Alan, at
Right.
localgovsolutionsllc.com.
Okay. All right. Got it. And the gov is it's gov, not government. So it's local gov solutions LLC
Correct.
.com. And we'll make sure that we have it. I was just pulling it up, make sure I got it right. We'll make sure we put it in here. But definitely for those listening in, check Alan's LinkedIn and follow him there because he's active out there. And then check out the site. And I know that you're going to learn so much from him. I have, and I continue to do that. So, Alan, thank you again for taking the time to be with us today. I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much for having me, Velma. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks so much for watching another episode of Your Leadership Chat. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button here and tap that bell icon so that you never miss another episode. I hope too that you'll give us a thumbs up on the video for a like. And then if you feel led, please share the video with those who need to see it. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time on Your Leadership Chat. Bye for now.